kind of like a thinker, which is like you gotta translate all the words back into normal English.
I don't know if I could even pass that one, to be honest.
English has always been my highest SAT score, so that should be fine.
That doesn't make it doesn't make it easy though. Maybe it makes it easier.
Yeah, it makes it not. It makes the grammar not as bad. The grammar and the reading comprehension. I wrote a lot of synthesis essay though.
A lot of what?
Yeah, synthesis essay. They basically give you Word documents and you have to write an essay about it.
I thought the synthesis essay was the easiest one yesterday.
Oh, easily. I wrote a killer synthesis essay.
Yeah. I couldn't come up with anything for the argumentative. Like I did, but like it was bad.
Yeah, same. So I started with rhetorical analysis, like got stuck and moved to the argumentative to pay back.
That's smart.
Yeah, I actually gained time on my rhetorical. I earned probably 5 minutes in rhetorical and ended up getting like 15 back.
Did you finish all of them?
Oh yeah. They weren't fantastic, maybe 3s at best, but my synthesis was probably a 4.
Celeste told me she thought the calculus exam was really hard.
Really hard?
Yeah. She also said there was an FRQ about milk that made no sense.
I haven't seen them yet, so they don't release them for a few days. She might be the first person that I've heard that said it was hard, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Or maybe she didn't say it was hard. She said, I don't know. She thought some of the FRQs were weird.
Yep. They always are.
But she always says that and then she does great. So I'm sure she did fine.
I would think the argumentative essay would be the one y'all would be most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because y'all just naturally argue all the time. Just put it on paper.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess our bells are still turned off for a couple more classes here. So we did need to make a slight change to the plan that I told you guys last time. So I will explain why, and hopefully you will think that that is a good decision. So all the handouts that you guys picked up this morning make up the final exam review for this spring. So all the stuff back as far as law of sines and law of cosines, which is what we started back in January. So originally the plan was to do test review today. You already have the test review, but give you some time to do the first 3 pages. Make sure that you get all your questions answered about rational functions, and then test next class. But we're going to push all of that back one day. Part of the main reason why is I will miss my first period today. We're interviewing for some math teachers next year, and I need to be a part of that. And so my first period I would not want to not be there for them in test review. And then also by doing it this way, I suggest up on the agenda here that of this final exam review, remember this is required even if you're exempting. So I think it's good for y'all to get it a couple days earlier, so those of you that plan on exempting could just do a couple questions here or there, and then it won't be a big deal. But questions 33 through 44 are the question types that you will see on your next test. So 33 through 37 were what we did in sections 2.5, the headings off there. Some long division, synthetic division, find the remaining factors, knowing how many zeros you would have, stuff like that. And then questions 38 through 44 are about vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes and x and y intercepts and holes and horizontal asymptotes and sketching those graphs, all the stuff that we've been doing the last couple of classes. So if anything, it gives you 2 more calendar days before this unit test, and it gives you a little bit more practice on this before we do the test review next class. So I feel like it was just kind of a win-win all the way around. But I will leave that up to you. If you're feeling pretty good about this unit and for some reason you really just don't want to start off with questions 33 through 44, then I guess you can do other parts of the final exam review. Now, of course, we plan on giving you some class time to do that, but since I'm giving you this class period, that is certainly part of the time that I'm considering not homework. So, yeah, what you got?
When's your test?
The final exam?
No, like the unit test.
Okay, so the plan was to review today and test Monday, so now we will review Monday and test Wednesday. It just pushed everything back one day. So again, I don't really see any downside, and then especially those of you that have been hit and miss with AP testing, it gives you a little bit more time to get your feet back on the ground. So this will not be the only day I give you to work on the semester exam review, but it is one of few full class periods I give you to work on it. So especially if you guys find any questions on 33 through 44, you should probably go ahead and ask those. But our final exam review doesn't say this at the top of the page, and again, I don't think it matters so much right now. But like first semester, we will allow a standard size note card. It will have to be handwritten, but you can use front and back. So if there's some things that you don't want to be bothered to memorize, like maybe the law of sines, law of cosines formulas, we didn't make you memorize those, but if you want them on the final, you need to put them on a note card. I strongly suggest you not consider putting anything from questions 33 through 44 on a note card, because we're going to expect you to do this unit test without a note card. So that might be tricking yourself into thinking you're more comfortable with that than you are. And again, I think it's kind of early for this information, but we will allow the semester test to count as a grade replacement. So if you are not eligible to exempt a final, you have to take it. Or if you are eligible to exempt a final, but you choose to take it, it will count as a 50-point test, and it can replace a low test grade. So if it's higher, we wouldn't do a replacement if it was lower. Okay, any questions that you have about the final exam or your last unit test that got pushed back by a day, or the scheduling of any of this before I can give you some time to work? Okay, again, I'd be happy to help you guys with any of this, but my priority is going to be questions 33 through 44, since that has been yet to be tested. So let me give you a chunk of time here to get some questions under your belt, and then I will step in and see how I can help. Also, if you'd like to check your work as you move along, the solutions to the final review are on my website, so feel free to check those off as you go along. Okay, have you found any questions you'd like me to go over with you? Can be anything, could be the recent stuff or just anything on the final review that you know that you're going to have to ask about.
Do it.
36. Let's see. Okay, so 36 asks us to divide this using long division, which we would have to do anyway because of this squared here makes it where we could not do synthetic division. Now this is optional, but synthetic division, this is not optional. For long division it is. If you don't have any x squareds, for some people it helps to go ahead and write that as a placeholder, so everything lines up a little bit better, but again, technically you shouldn't have to do that. But the first part of your answer should be 3x, because 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. And then 3x times 1 would be 3x. You're probably not going to put that here because these are x squareds. You probably want to put it here because they're x's. Again, it's not mandatory, but it does make it a little bit easier. And then we're trying to subtract all of this, so we will just change the signs and add. Since there's no x squareds, I'm not going to carry that down. And this makes that. And that's it for the algorithm, because there's nothing times x squared that gives you x, unless you're willing to put x in the denominator, which we're not interested in doing. So, just to be clear here, why is my answer not just 3x? Okay, but don't we ignore the remainder sometimes? When do we ignore the remainder? Only if you're using long division to find slant asymptotes. And this question has nothing to do with slant asymptotes. So you still need to add the remainder over the divisor. All of that would be your answer. So my guess would be that combining these like terms in this step may have gotten kind of messy, kind of confusing if you didn't line them up. So maybe consider putting in this placeholder. Maybe consider lining up the x's with the x's instead of the x squareds or something. And then maybe that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, is that enough for that question? Okay. Okay, anybody else got something else ready to go? Okay, I will check back in another 10-15 minutes then. Checking back in. Is there any more questions I can help with?
35.
Number 35. Let's see. Okay, 35 asks us to find the remaining factors if x plus 2 is a factor and x minus 4 is a factor of a 4th degree polynomial Okay, so if it's a 4th degree, that means it has 4 zeros, which means it's going to have 4 factors. So I've got 2 more to find besides the 2 that were given to me. So you have some choices here, but to get started you kind of have to know what the process is going to be. So to get this down from a 4th degree down to a quadratic, so I can find the last 2 solutions, you need to divide these 2 things out. So you can either divide this one out by long division and then divide this one out by long division, or you can divide by synthetic division. But if you do synthetic division, make sure you use -2 and +4. That's where the divisor equals 0. For me, synthetic is a little bit quicker, so that's what I'm going to go with. But the fact that this is coming from a factor guarantees that it divides into it evenly. So if I don't get a remainder of 0, I need to recheck my work here. So add down and multiply, add down and multiply, add down, multiply, add down and multiply, and I end up with a remainder of 0. So basically what I just did is I took this from a 4th degree, and now this represents a 3rd degree. 8x cubed minus 30x squared minus 11x plus 12. But truth be told, I'm not any better at solving cubics than I am quartics. So I really need to divide out this one as well. So after you divide out the -2, then divide out the 4 also, or the x minus 4 if you'd rather do long division. And again, since this is coming from a factor, it should give a remainder of 0, so we should have that as a check. And the whole purpose of all of this work, the way that you're supposed to know to do that, is what this represents at the bottom is now a quadratic. Now, I hope that this factors nicely, because that's going to give me my answers the quickest. But if it doesn't factor, then I could at least use quadratic formula and then change the zeros into factors. So I'm going to try to get this with guess and check, but product sum should work out as well if it does factor. let's see, this would do this and this, minus 4 plus 6 gives me this. Yep. So that's how it factors. So these are my other two answers. So not just long division or synthetic division, but an application of actually using them, something that it makes it helpful for. Okay, was that enough for everybody that wanted to ask about 35? Okay, maybe one more for now, or two more? Okay, and I'll reset our timer and bug you for some more questions in about 10 minutes.
they're supposed to go with, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it just didn't carry over very well.
What if I like crossed them out as I did them on the other page? I just added them. Is that all
Yeah,
right?
that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, bathroom.
Yeah. Sign out and take the pass, please. Okay, it's been a little over 10 minutes here, so try to help out again. Okay, another question or two from the final review.
Can you do 1B?
Number 1B. Let's see, number 1B is back from law of sines, law of cosines. So it gives us an angle and two sides and wants us to find the other angle. So I don't think this is necessary, but it might help if you try to sketch a picture. Make angle A look around 110 degrees. Let's see, the side opposite that would be A, and it is 125. And then one of these other sides is B, which is 100, and we're supposed to be able to figure out how big angle B is from that. So the first challenge that you should have in all parts of question 1 would be trying to figure out whether you should use, oh never mind, the directions just flat out say use law of sines. So you have to know the formula for this one. And back when we did this topic, we put the formulas for you on the top of your test, but we don't do that on the final because we give you a note card. So law of sines was the easier one to remember. Law of cosines is a little bit harder to memorize, but good for you to memorize for the ACT anyway. But remember, you can also take the reciprocal of each of these. So if I'm trying to find angle B, I'm probably going to pair up this stuff, sine of B over B. I'm just taking the reciprocal. And then I could either set that equal to the sine of C over C or the sine of A over A. Now, since I don't know anything about angle C or side C, I'm certainly not going to use that one. I'm going to use this one. But again, just like I did the reciprocal here, I'm going to do the reciprocal here. So sine of A over A. And then if you start going and plugging this information in, A is 125, angle A is 110, side B is 100. Then you could multiply both sides by 100. To know what the sine of B is. But remember, sine is always between -1 and +1. That's probably not going to end up being the angle that we actually need. So to go from sine B equals to just B equals, we need to do inverse sine of all of this. And at that point, that's when you would need to go to your calculator and type it in carefully. And part of being careful here is being in degree mode, because this is in degrees, and I want my answer in degrees. And my calculator tells me that is about 48.743 degrees. I think that one might have a second solution as well, but we didn't make you do the ambiguous case earlier this year, so you would not be on the hook for that on the AP test, the final exam. So, was there only one answer or two answers on the solutions?
I think there's only one.
Okay. We let you guys do the ambiguous case if you wanted to for a bonus question, but it was not required. All this law of sines, law of cosine stuff was really just to try to help you out with the ACT, and the ACT does not test over the ambiguous case, so we didn't make you do the ambiguous case, which is when you could have two solutions. So any parts of question 1 that has two solutions, you can ignore that and just make sure that you can find one. Although the second one, if it has a second one, it's just a supplement. So, okay, anything more specific in that? One thing you may highlight though is if you don't want to be bothered to memorize the law of sines, that's something you'll need to squeeze onto your note card. Okay, another question or two can be from any part, but if you haven't finished 33 through 44 first, I'd really prefer questions from those. Okay, let me give you one more chunk of time to try to get a few more done, and I'll try to help out just a little bit more before you guys leave. But again, you're certainly encouraged to, I don't want you to just delay and postpone this and then feel like you have a ton of stuff to do. Realistically, try to just do 5 or 10 questions a day, even if it's a B day, especially if you guys are in AP classes that don't have much going on. got about 12 minutes left, so this would be a good time to try to sneak in a couple more questions. Again, obviously you don't have to get all your questions answered on this today, but the more help that you get today should mean the less that you need to get right before the exam. So, Noah, what do you got?
Not really a math question, more of a calculator question.
Okay.
I can't get my calculator to take the inverse sine of 1c.
Inverse sine of what?
Of that, what, 200 sine, 110 degrees of 125.
What question are you looking at?
1c.
Oh, like we looked at earlier. Oh, so to go from here to here?
No, that's, okay, yeah, it's, my calculator won't do the inverse sine, but it's 200 sine instead of 100.
It won't do inverse sine, it's doing what?
It won't do the inverse sine of that. Like, it just says error.
My guess is that you're not typing this in correctly, so let's look at what you're doing.
I broke it down.
Okay, so first off, we're inputting a degree, so you need to check to see that your mode is degrees.
Degrees.
Okay. And then it was inverse sine of, I don't have it in front of me, was it 125?
Okay, it's inverse sine of 200 sine 110 over 125.
My guess is going to be that you're typing it in like this. That's not how you're typing it in?
No.
Let me make sure this looks 100, 125. Okay, well that's good because this isn't what you mean. What I would do is you either need, it's probably a parentheses problem or a fraction problem. So anytime you guys do a fraction in your calculator, you really should put parentheses around your numerator and parentheses around your denominator. Even if it's something like 2 over 4, where it's not needed, it doesn't hurt to put parentheses around the numerator and denominator. So that would say, I would say that's probably the first thing. Or you can do alpha y equals option 1, and then that will let you type it in the way it looks. Which I think is this. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but is that how we wrote it on the paper?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that was silly of me. Why? Hold on. Let me see where that answer came from. Okay, I told you wrong on this earlier. Whoever asked about this question, see, this is correct. It's good that you're having issues here. Wait. Oh, where's the 2? Okay, my issue was this was supposed to be 200 right here, and I wrote down 100 for some reason.
Well, question B is 100, question C is 200.
Was this B or, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was the same one. You just needed help typing it in. Okay, so question C. Let me look at it for just a second.
It's exactly the same, but B is 200 instead of 100.
Okay, so if you start going through this work, now I'm on the same page. I thought it was the same as that other question. So you do this, you get the sine of B, multiply both sides by 200, you got to this, right? You go from sine of B equals to B equals, you have to do inverse sine. So this is what you put in the calculator, and it's throwing an error message at you, right? And the reason why is this is not possible. There are no solutions. This doesn't work. And the reason how you're supposed to know that without your calculator trying to give you a hint is if you tried to sketch yourself a picture, here's angle A at 110 degrees. Opposite that would be side A, 125. One of these angles B, 200. The problem with these numbers, and sometimes this happens, is do you see how angle A has to be the biggest angle because it's obtuse? Which means its opposite side has to be the biggest side. And so there's no way that B could be bigger than 125 if angle A is the biggest angle.
I see.
So your calculator understands that these numbers don't make sense, and that's why it's giving you an error message. But with the final still a couple weeks away, you might want to write out a couple words there, reminding yourself what to do.
On question 5, it says sketch like the inverse of a graph with into a graph.
Okay, just skip it for now.
Okay.
I'll put it up later.